Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name's Steven, and if someone had told me a year ago that a single piece of paper would be the reason my marriage fell apart, I probably would have laughed it off. But looking back now, that's exactly what happened. I found a folded note in my wife's bag one weekend when I was tidying up our room. But what that note said, and who it was meant for, that's where the problem started. I didn't know it at the time, but that little piece of paper was the first thread that would slowly pull apart the life I had built with someone I truly believed was my forever. It's hard to wrap your head around something like that when you're married for as long as we were. But before this discovery, things were actually good. So, I didn't expect anything to go wrong. But before everything slowly fell apart, let me tell you how everything started. I never expected to end up with Valeria. Honestly, she wasn't someone I imagined myself dating, let alone marrying. Our mothers were actually the ones who set us up. They were old friends who decided we'd be perfect for each other. I remember rolling my eyes when my mom first brought it up. It felt forced, like two puzzle pieces being jammed together because they looked like they might fit. Still, out of respect, I agreed to give a shot. Our first date was fine. We talked a bit, but there wasn't any magical spark flying through the air. I think we were both just trying to be polite more than anything. It took a couple more dates before things started to feel real. That initial stiffness gave way to something warmer. By our third or fourth time out, we were beginning to click. She told me she wanted to keep working even after getting married, and that she absolutely loved kids. That stood out to me. I respected that. I wanted kids, too, and I never saw a problem with having a wife who worked. So, from that angle, we aligned pretty easily. We didn't date for long. Our parents, who had basically been rooting for us since day one, were thrilled. They saw how we got along and took it as a sign that we were truly compatible. It wasn't long before the wedding plans were underway. I won't say I was pressured, but I will say that the momentum of it all made it easy to go with the flow. The early phase of our marriage felt easy, comfortable, stable. We did the things people in love do. We held off on having kids right away, choosing instead to focus on building a rhythm. Every Friday night, we'd pick a movie and curl up on the couch. In the mornings, we'd drink coffee together, usually enjoying each other's presence. On weekends, we'd run errands. It all sounds ordinary, and maybe it was, but there was a quiet kind of joy in it. We talked through disagreements, tried not to let small issues turn into big ones, and we had an unspoken rule: no dragging our parents into our problems. It felt like we had a solid foundation, and honestly, people around us noticed. Friends would say things like, "You two make it look easy," or "You're such a good match." It made us feel like we were doing something right. But here's the thing about stability. Sometimes it tricks you. You think because you've weathered a few storms together that you're invincible. We had a couple of rough patches, sure, but we always bounced back. That made me think we were untouchable, that nothing could really shake us. I see now how naive that was. That kind of thinking gave me a false sense of security, one that made me blind to what could really go wrong. There were secrets she was holding, things I couldn't have imagined. And eventually, I'd find out in a way that no one ever wants to. But that's a story for a little later. For now, just know that everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. So, things really started to shift after Valeria, and I made the decision to finally try for a baby. I thought we were in a good place. So when we said, let's start a family, I didn't expect that would be the very moment things would start to unravel. While we started trying to conceive, Valeria's behavior began to change. She started coming home later than usual. She'd walk in tired, sometimes well past dinner, claiming she was helping a new colleague settle into the office. I didn't think too much of it at first. I trusted her. What really began to hurt wasn't just her time away. It was the way she started to pull back from me emotionally and physically. She stopped initiating intimacy altogether. And when I tried to get close, when I reached out like a husband should, she'd gently push me away with some version of "I'm tired" or "I'm not in the mood." At first, I gave her space. But the more time passed, the clearer it became. This was a distance that no explanation could really justify. I wasn't happy, but I tried to stay calm. But even with that patience, the change in her was hard to ignore. We started to argue more. It could be over anything. All those little things that didn't matter before started to grow teeth. I tried to talk to her about it, but any time I brought up how I felt, she got defensive. And that hurt more than the silence. Eventually, I realized trying to win arguments wasn't going to help anything. It didn't matter if I was right. What mattered was that we were breaking apart, and I had to figure out a new way to hold us together. So I stopped pushing. I stopped raising my voice or pointing out inconsistencies. Instead, I started trying to repair things quietly. I planned a date night. I suggested dinner at one of her favorite restaurants. I made more of an effort to start conversations, to listen more and say less. I thought if I softened the tension, the closeness would come back. And on the surface, it seemed to work. The arguments slowed down. We weren't fighting as much. But the truth? Nothing really changed. The core of the problem was still there, buried just beneath the surface. We were quieter now, but not happier. It felt like putting a bandage on something that needed surgery. I didn't know it yet, but those cracks were just the beginning. One Saturday afternoon, my wife, Valeria, had gone out with her friends. I figured I'd use the time to straighten things up around the house. I started with the bedroom, folding laundry, making the bed properly, and clearing the clutter. That's when I noticed her work bag sitting near the dresser. At first, I didn't think anything of it. But as I kept cleaning, I found myself looking at it again. I opened it. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for, but as I combed through her things, I found a folded sheet of paper tucked away in one of the smaller pockets. At first, I thought it might have been a receipt or a work-related note. But the second I unfolded it and began to read, my hands got cold. It was a romantic note, playful, flirty, emotional. And it wasn't meant for me. The words weren't just suggestive, they were personal. There was affection in the tone. Whoever this was written to, she had a connection with him. And I was not that person. I sat there on the edge of our bed, note in hand, trying to breathe through the wave of emotions that hit me. It's one thing to worry your partner is slipping away from you emotionally. It's another thing entirely to find proof in ink. I wanted to confront her right then, to call her and ask, "What the hell is this?" But I stopped myself. I told myself, wait. And I did. She came back later that night, a little unsteady, shoes in her hand. She stumbled into bed and passed out almost immediately. And I just lay there next to her, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding. That note folded and tucked under my pillow like some kind of cursed keepsake. The next morning, she was all smiles. Making coffee, talking about how fun the night had been, asking if I wanted to go grab brunch somewhere. I watched her like a stranger would, trying to make sense of the person in front of me. When the moment felt right, I asked her, calmly, about the note. Who was it for? The change in her was immediate. Her smile faltered, and she said, "What note?" I repeated myself, told her exactly where I found it, and described it so she knew I wasn't bluffing. That's when the wall went up. She got evasive, saying it was private. Then came the defensiveness. "Why were you going through my bag?" she asked. She claimed the note was just a joke. "It's something we do at the office," she said. Just messing around. But she couldn't even look me in the eye. And in that moment I knew. Something deeper was going on. And the woman I thought I knew, I wasn't sure who she was anymore. I didn't press her any further after that. There was something in the way she deflected that told me arguing would get me nowhere. She'd just keep dancing around the truth, and I'd be left even more confused and angry. So I stopped pushing and started watching. I decided quietly that if she wasn't going to tell me what was going on, I was going to find out for myself. At first, I didn't have a real plan, just instincts. I reached out to someone I knew at her office. I didn't go in asking blunt questions. I played it cool at first, but eventually I just asked directly if there was a guy by that name on the letter working there. The answer was yes. He was the new guy. That alone made my chest tighten, but what came next made it hard to breathe. The insider told me, casually, like it was common knowledge, that some of the people at the office had been joking about Valeria and this new guy. Apparently, they had a thing going on, and some of their coworkers even referred to them as the unofficial office couple. I can't explain how that made me feel. I was furious, confused, and embarrassed. The signs were all there, and I missed them. Or I didn't want to believe them. Either way, it was becoming clear that this had been happening right under my nose. Still, I needed something undeniable. Words from someone else could still be dismissed. What I needed was direct proof. So I waited. For days. I waited for the right moment, when she would be careless enough to leave her phone unlocked or unattended for a minute longer than usual. And let me tell you, that moment didn't come quickly. She had gotten smarter or more paranoid. Her phone was either always with her or locked with Face ID. But one night, she fell asleep on the couch while chatting and watching a movie. Her phone was in her hand. I gently took it and went straight to her messages. I didn't even know where to start, so I typed in the guy's name in the search bar, and there it was. I started scrolling, and with every message, my stomach turned. This was deep, intimate. But what finally broke me was a recent message she had sent him. My husband seems to be suspicious after seeing the love note I wrote you. That was it. I had been lied to, gaslit, betrayed. And now I had it in her own words. I took screenshots of everything because I needed to preserve the truth. I needed something real to hold on to in case she tried to spin it all around on me, which at this point I fully expected. I sat there for a long time that night, and in that silence, I finally understood it was truly over. That night, I decided I couldn't keep living in denial. I just waited for her to wake up, and when she did, I showed her my phone with screenshots of her secrets. I didn't say much. Her face changed immediately. First, she looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then came the denial, the accusations, the shouting. Why are you going through my things? You're always trying to control me. You've never trusted me. I didn't try to reason with her or argue. What was the point? The truth was right there between us, and she knew it. That same night, I went into our bedroom, pulled out a small duffel bag, and started packing. Just a few clothes, enough to get by for a while. She was still shouting when I zipped the bag shut. I didn't tell her where I was going. I didn't say how long I'd be gone. All those little moments that didn't make sense before, they clicked into place like dominoes, one after another. A few days later, her mom called me. She sounded quiet, tired even. She said she'd heard what happened. I didn't go into details, I didn't need to. But I could tell she already knew the truth. I won't make excuses for her, she said. Her own mother couldn't deny what her daughter had done. Weeks had passed since I walked out of the house. I stayed in a hotel for a while and tried to sort through the chaos in my head. I didn't tell too many people what happened right away. Eventually, I filed for divorce. It wasn't an impulsive decision. I thought about it. There were moments when I almost convinced myself to just let it go, to give her another chance. But then I'd remember how she looked me in the face and lied. And the answer was clear. When I finally returned to the house to collect my things, she was there. I wasn't ready for what came next. The moment she saw me, she broke down sobbing. She said she was sorry, that she didn't know what came over her. She begged me to go to couples therapy, said she'd do anything to make it right again, told me she missed me, that the house felt empty without me. Inside, it was chaos. But I didn't give in. I told her calmly that it was over, that no amount of therapy could bring back the trust she destroyed. And I meant it. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. Just like that, the marriage that once felt so full of promise was officially over. But here's the weird part. Despite everything, the relationship between our families didn't fall apart. My mom still talked to hers from time to time. They didn't take sides. They just accepted the reality quietly and moved on with their own lives. I guess not everyone needs to burn bridges just because we did. After the divorce was finalized, life didn't magically get better overnight. The marriage was over, and now I had to start all over again, figuring out what came next. At first, I was just going through the motions, but eventually, I started putting the pieces of myself back together. And in that process, I had a lot of time to think about how I got here. One of the biggest lessons I learned is this: trust is not automatic. It's not something you give blindly just because you wear rings or share a last name. Trust has to be proven every single day in the little things. Another hard truth I had to face is that small changes in someone's behavior aren't just random. They mean something. When she stopped initiating affection, when she started coming home late, when she gave short answers or avoided eye contact, I saw those signs. I just didn't want to admit what they could mean. If there's one thing I wish someone had told me earlier, it's this. Your gut is not your enemy. If something feels off, it usually is. Don't silence that inner voice just because you don't want it to be true. Don't let fear or comfort keep you in a place where you're being slowly chipped away, piece by piece. I also realized how dangerous nostalgia can be. I stayed in that marriage longer than I should have, partly because I kept clinging to who she used to be. And yeah, those moments were real. But the person she became was not the person I married. And loving the memory of someone is not enough reason to let them keep breaking your heart. So here I am now, not bitter. I still believe in love. I still believe in partnership. But I'll never again trade my peace for someone else's secrecy. And now I want to hear from you. If you were in my shoes, if you found a romantic note in your spouse's bag and slowly uncovered the truth, what would you have done? Would you have walked away? Stayed and fought? I know every story is different, and sometimes the lines get blurry, but your thoughts matter. So, drop a comment below. Share your story or your opinion. I read everything, and honestly, hearing your perspectives helps more people than you know. Let's talk about it.